Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Canadian Securities Exchange Special Edition podcast. I'm your host, Barrington Miller, Director of Listed Company Services at the CSE. And today we're here with Daniel Safayeni from the Ontario Cannabis Policy Council, as well as the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hi, Barrington. Thank you so much for having me on.
The reason we're meeting today and the reason we're talking, there's matters at hand, and there's things that are affecting, local residents in Ontario. But before we get into it, Daniel, just tell us a bit about your background and what it is you do.
Absolutely. So I'm Director of Policy for the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce, of course, is Ontario's business advocate. So we put together common sense policy solutions and advocate to government on behalf of industry on a wide range of different public policy issues. As part of my job, I'm also co-chair of our Ontario Cannabis Policy Council. And so that's, of course, one area in which the Chamber has been quite vocal and quite active in terms of putting together what we think are evidence-based public policy recommendations for the government to consider and hopefully to adopt as well. And so as part of my role, we've launched our Ontario Chamber's Cannabis Policy Council with a great group of experts around the table in which we try to inform government decision-making on the file.
So the reason we're here, everyone knows obviously what's going on in the world. COVID-19 is just devastating lives, families, economies, countries, touching all aspects of life. In Ontario, one aspect has to do with curbside pickup as we try and maintain social distance and everyone's doing their part. This is going to end for dispensaries and retailers at the end of the month, as soon as we enter phase 3. I don't understand why. I don't understand why this is the only business that will be affected. What's going on, Daniel? Let's talk.
So, of course, and I think that's a confusion, Barrington, that's shared by both industry and consumers alike in terms of why this is being removed still in the middle of the pandemic. And just by way of background here, what's happened is that when cannabis stores were ordered to close, the provincial government actually helpfully put forward an emergency order which would allow cannabis retailers to safely and in a controlled way engage in curbside pickup and delivery options. So consumers looking to purchase legal cannabis from their local independent retailer could do so safely. The decision coming down the line last week was that the provincial government is going to extend basically every single other emergency order, including to restaurants being able to deliver liquor to homes, with the exception of the cannabis industry. And that is bad policy in terms of public safety, because now illegal operators are going to be able to engage in exactly that. But it's actually also bad policy in terms of economic recovery and stabilization. And that's something that I'd be happy to get into in a little bit as well.
This is sort of a leading question, but who benefits from this? At least on the surface, or who appears to benefit?
Well, the first folks who are going to benefit is going to be the illegal operators. They are going to have less competition now when it comes to being able to deliver their products. But what this policy change also indicates is that the only legal operators that are going to be able to sell cannabis online in the province is the government-run Ontario Cannabis Store. So on one hand, we are telling small businesses and retailers and independent operators that have legally tried to sell cannabis online that they're not going to be able to do this, and they're not going to be able to make any profit or hire anybody to deliver that product safely. But the government-run Ontario Cannabis Store is still able to do so.
I don't understand something, because all the retailers and dispensaries purchase from the OCS. And so with curbside, and I mean, they have skin in the game. They're getting money back from all these different avenues. And if you want to choke out the illegal operators, you expand far and wide. This doesn't sound like we are open for business, which was the political war cry for the provincial government. Am I missing something? Are we missing something?
I mean, I would like to know exactly what it is we're missing. And I think you touch on a very important point here, which is that in Ontario, according to the government's own numbers, 81% of household spending on cannabis is still going to the illegal market. And so this is not a zero-sum game. We're not saying, purchase from us versus the government. We are saying give the legal cannabis sector the same competitive tools that they need so that they can take market share away from illegal operators, which dominate 81% of the market here in Ontario. So we are saying let us grow the pie rather than consider this a zero-sum game of the Ontario Cannabis Store versus retailers. We're merely just asking for a competitive playing field in which retailers are granted the same tools that basically every other industry retailer has been granted, including e-commerce options. But really, our message here is simple. We're not looking for special treatment for the cannabis industry, federally or provincially, but we are looking for equal treatment. And at a time where the economy is grappling with the impacts of COVID-19 containment measures, we should be encouraging economic growth in emerging sectors like the cannabis one rather than stifling it.
Now, what can we do as individuals, or we do as a group or corporations?
So first of all, if for interested corporations, please do reach out to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce or the Ontario Cannabis Policy Council. We are working on this issue aggressively. Just recently, Barrington, in fact, we did put some pen to paper in terms of what does this look like in terms of the economic impact for Ontario. So even by conservative estimates, if you take the just 100 or so stores that are legally operating in the province, it's going to be $180 million worth of lost revenue in e-commerce just over the next year. If you look at the 450 some stores that are holding leases, ready to open, paying rent, and just going through the application process and finalizing it, if you include that group, removing delivery and curbside pickup accounts for nearly $1 billion of economic losses, according to our analysis at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. And so these are not negligible numbers. And at a time where the retail sector particularly has taken a hit and the economy is struggling, all of a sudden removing this ability for retailers to deliver a product safely while supporting jobs in the industry, while supporting economic growth and the tax base, really doesn't add up.
No, not a whole lot is making sense right now. Daniel, I just wanted to say on behalf of everyone, thank you, and thank you for your group for bringing attention to this matter. And thank you to the Canadian Securities Exchange for giving us a platform to speak on this. Sometimes it isn't just about getting listings and going public, but there are bigger things at work. I'm your host, Barrington Miller. Thank you.